welcome to What? That Old Queen? A candid and adult take on queer life quandaries at a certain age. So please listen at your own discretion. Presented by Bernie and Tommy, the views here are purely those of the content providers and in no way reflect those of any service you may hear this program on. Now, please let your ears be upstanding for the Old Queens. Hello, Tommy.
How are you, Bernie?
I'm good. I feel a little bit rushed, but and a little bit sweaty. I think it's the heat that's getting to me.
Take a deep breath, and everything's going to be fine.
I'm sure it will be. Well, it's certainly going to be fine this episode because we've got a fantastic guest.
I know.
Neil Bartlett is coming to join us.
Yeah. Neil Bartlett is MBE.
I know. We better be on our best behaviour, I think. It's almost like royalty.
Well, yeah, like 1 degree of separation.
Yeah, exactly. So, from one queen to a couple of other queens.
Yeah. And he's also a playwright, novelist, theatre director, performer, was an artistic director of the Hammersmith Lyric.
Yeah, and I started reading his book, The Disappearance Boy, as well.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't finished it, but I mean, we can talk about that. He's got a very interesting narrative, a way of kind of writing a narrative, which I quite like to talk to him about. The stories just
really unravel in a really unexpected way.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting the way that he writes. Have we got What, That Really Old Queen?
Yes, so we're doing an actor who passed away sadly last year, Tommy Baptiste, who I was lucky enough to meet him just a month before he died. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about him.
Oh, amazing. That's great. And we've got fan favourite, Queens of Agony later, and Kink My Bluff, which we're going to do on Instagram Live again. So should we do that now? And I'll do the old switcheroo.
Sure.
And we'll see who's there to watch us. Right. Switching over.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi, Tommy.
Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah. Hello, China Blue. Thanks for joining us. We have an audience of one. Or have you got more?
I've got 2 my end.
Oh, have you? Yeah, but the other one's me.
Oh,
So, are we ready to play Kink My Bluff? Oh, what's that wreath behind you?
It's a sort of Easter wreath.
Oh, it's an Easter.
What I haven't taken down.
Has it got chocolate eggs on it?
No, they're not chocolate. They're polystyrene.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't think I want to eat those. If they were
really
chocolate, it's yeah. Well, I think it's it's all right. Okay, so let's go for Kink My Bluff anyway, shall we? Let's play it. Dum. Right. So, how many kinky bluffs have you got for me?
I've got 2.
2. Okay.
They're more like gay slang.
Okay, but that's fine. As long as they're words.
Yeah.
We didn't put any rules down for this. They don't have to be in the Oxford English Dictionary or anything. So,
I'm going to multitask and put some hand cream on at the same time.
Okay, you are such a multitasker. It's unbelievable.
With Madam Glamour.
This week's episode is sponsored by Madam Glamour. Please send us a ton of hand cream. Right. Hello, Mum. Run, monkey, run. Shall I start?
Okay.
Okay. My word is nappy form. Nappy form.
Like body form.
A bit like body form, but it's called nappy form. NAPIFORM. Is it a term used for the costume used in the kink of baby play? So when people dress up as babies, their costume is called nappy form, like uniform.
Okay.
Or is it the term for something which is shaped like a turnip? Kink or bluff?
It's kink. It's a kink. It's the uniform, nappy form.
You think it's the uniform? Sorry. It's actually something which is shaped like a turnip, which you might use in a kink anyway, right?
In the medieval times, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they were using all sorts of things for dildo type things, right?
There is sort of connecting that up with a vegetable theme.
Right.
My word is a tossed salad.
A tossed salad. Okay.
So is tossed salad gay slang for analingus and rimming?
Yes.
Or is it gay slang for a gay party when old and young gays come together?
Ooh. So the first one is analingus and rimming, tossed salad, or old and young partying together. I'm going to go for old and young partying together.
Incorrect.
Oh. God damn it. Okay. Well, neither of us are doing very well this week, right?
No.
So, Qigong or Quigong. So it's Qigong. Is it the name of a particular implement used to put down the Aretha Franklin, during the kinky exercise of sounding? So is it the name of a particular kind of implement that you would use? Or is it a type of ancient Chinese meditational exercise practiced by monks or wise people?
China thinks that we're very serious in our way that we're considering our answers.
Well, it's a competition.
Well, isn't it?
I don't think we're serious about anything, are we?
I think it's the monk thing.
You think it's the monk? It is. You're absolutely right.
Brilliant.
It's not a kink. It's definitely a bluff. So it was, the Chinese meditational exercise. So it's 1-0 to you. What's next?
A turtleneck. Is it a middle-aged catalogue gay man?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it an uncircumcised penis?
I think it's an uncircumcised penis.
Correct.
Yes! 1-1. Great. Right, well, this is the decider.
Okay, I really do.
Okay, so we've got 1-1. This is the tiebreaker.
Okay.
Corprolalia. Corprolalia. So it's COPROLALIA. So, is it the act of using obscene words during sex to arouse either or both partners during the act of sex? Sorry, excuse me. During the act of sex. Sex always gives me wind. Or is it the study of fossilized feces, which are called coprolites, and are trace fossils and give evidence of an animal's behavior?
I think it's the study of the ancient feces.
You think it's the study of the ancient feces? Well, I can reveal to you it is a kink. It's the act of using obscene words during sex. Do you use obscene words during sex?
Depends what you call obscene. But yeah, probably.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I quite like the kink of not using obscene words during sex. Like things that somebody who's quite vanilla thinks obscene, but they obviously aren't.
Can you give me an example?
Like, hit me with your winky.
I did one else said what sex are you into? What kind of sex are you into? And I said comedy sex.
What did you mean by comedy sex?
The idea of like carry-on film. Sort of.
Well, porn films in the 70s used to be a bit like a carry-on film, didn't they? Anyway, China Blue of the Queens, thank you so much for staying with us. You're our only listener for this, or viewer.
There's 3 of them, it says.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. But I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll probably be back at some stage with this. And yeah, we'll see you next time for Kink My Bluff. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, back in the other room. Neil Bartlett coming in imminently. So, shall we do What That Really Old Queen?
Yeah. So for What That Really Old Queen, I've chosen actually someone that I was lucky enough to have met. So Tommy Baptiste was born in 1929. He is Guyanese-born actor and opera singer. And he moved to Britain in the 1940s. And that's when I met him. I'm pulling your leg. So I think first of all, like he got a job in a factory, and then he got us connected with someone that I did a large archival project on called Oliver Messel, who was a set designer. And Oliver was very well connected with certain types of people, a gay man, and used to throw very glamorous dinner parties, and also knew the manager of John Lewis in Oxford Street, and managed to get Tommy a job in there, which he would just spend all of his time, he said, in the toilet, practicing his music and singing his songs and not really doing anything. So he was a black actor, and I think at that time he did experience quite a lot of racism. Well, probably throughout his whole of his life, actually.
Yeah, he probably lived through one of the most difficult times of being a person of colour in Britain.
Yeah, and he was the co-founder of a committee for equity representing black actors.
Yes. Yeah, he was a founder member of that, wasn't he?
And he was the person that he pushed through the kind of idea for a campaign of colourblind casting.
Yeah, because he was in Pinter plays and things like that, wasn't he? Which traditionally would have been cast as a white actor.
Yeah.
But didn't he play like the first black gay character on TV?
He played the first black character in Coronation Street.
Right.
So he was.
But he was also the first gay black character. It was in a play called Pal, I think, which was like Play for Today or something on BBC.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was in Coronation. I think I remember him being in Coronation Street. I mean, it's been years since I've watched it.
Yeah, his sort of back catalogue is extensive. He was also in Till Death Us Do Part. Do you remember that?
Yes. I mean, supremely kind of racist.
And that was very
sitcom.
It was a very problematic show, really.
Well, I think it was trying to break down barriers in some kind of way, but I mean, it's when we look on it today, it's just horrific, isn't it?
Yeah. So Tommy is closely associated with Noel Coward.
Oh.
Rumoured to have been boyfriends. And my friend was telling me a story about Tommy and Noel like last year, and I texted her today, and I said, "Can you just remind me of that story that you were telling me about Tommy?" And she said, well, he was the boyfriend of Noel Coward, not very bright, but he was old when I met him. And I said, "Yeah, but didn't you say that he gave very good blowjobs?" And she said, "I'm unable to report. Noel didn't like buggery, so blowjobs were the way. I presume he had a talent."
I mean, there was obviously some mention of blowjobs previously, I would imagine.
Yeah. So when I met him, which was like a month before he passed,
right,
I was doing this project about Oliver Messel. So I was going around to different people's houses that remembered Oliver and doing verbatim interviews. And I went round there, and he was he was full of stories and a really interesting character, but very kind of grumpy, and would give me half an hour of his time. So I sat on the edge of his bed. I went to Hove to visit him and interviewed him there. And then after the half hour, he was like, "Enough, take him away." So he was with his goddaughter, and she just sort of said, "Oh, he's very old and very grumpy now." So,
right.
And that was the end. But, he was just a brilliant storyteller and had such a wide variety of experiences. One of the ones that he recounted so beautifully was when he was invited to dinner at Oliver Messel's house, and he was just told it was just going to be an intimate dinner. He turned up at the street, and the whole of the road had been blocked, and there was police waiting at either side. And so he was sort of, imagine this in 1950, being a black man in London, and he turned up at the house and was told that Princess Margaret was coming to dinner.
To his house? To
where he was going, Oliver's house. So
wow.
He had dinner. He had dinner with Princess Margaret, and he said to me, "She was very nice, but she had no bum."
Well, some people see that as a good thing. Others see it as a bad thing. I mean, he obviously saw it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that he said to, I can't remember which actress it was, but he was working with them in theatre, and he just said to her, "If I told you the story of my life, you wouldn't believe it." So he obviously had loads of experiences like that.
And walking around his flat, it was just the walls were jam-packed with photographs and memories and, program notes and all sorts of things.
Amazing. Who's that barking in the background? Have you got Ryan there?
I'm going to close the door. I've been experiencing quite a lot of barking recently.
Have you? Have your new neighbours got a dog?
It seems that way, yeah. Great, so that's Tommy.
Tommy Baptiste. Love it. Do you know what was the character he played in Coronation Street? There was some storyline to do with Len Fairclough or something, and he was a bus driver.
I think Len was accused of making a racist comment or something to this bus driver.
Right. Okay. Wow. I don't even remember what the outcome was. In those days, it could have been anything.
I mean, it was a very long time ago.
I think I might have been 3 when that happened. Yeah. Or I wish. So what else have you done this week, Tommy?
Well, I have been at picnicking. And we're going to have a picnic tomorrow, aren't we?
Hopefully, yeah. What should we bring on the picnic? Wine.
I've got plenty of wine, and I've got hummus, and I've made maybe I could make another sourdough loaf.
Oh, right. Okay. Maybe we could record like a picnic snack out of it. I'll see what I can delve into my snack out of it box.
I'm just finishing off the Ryvita Thins.
Are you? Do you like a Ryvita Thin?
I do, actually. I'm really addicted to them.
They're quite Moorish. What's your favourite topping for a Ryvita Thin?
Hummus.
Now, are you a Marmite lover or not a Marmite lover?
I love Marmite, and I like Marmite with peanut butter, because they've just mixed it up.
Yeah, that's delicious. That's a real taste sensation. Marmite and cottage cheese?
I'm not sure about that.
Have you ever tried it?
No, but cottage cheese is one of my staples.
Yeah, I love a bit of cottage cheese. So
I've always put cottage cheese in because it's very high in protein and low in fat.
Yeah, but it goes very well with Marmite, especially on a Ryvita Thin, I would imagine.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's the old school style of serving suggestion. Is a proper Ryvita, cottage cheese, and maybe a cucumber over the top.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Mr. Neil Bartlett.
Hello.
Welcome to the Old Queen.
Hello.
Oh, you've got loads of pictures behind you on a noteboard.
Yes, I'm in my study, and that's the wall of my study. My study is lined with that help me think, or souvenirs from my shady past.
Ah, okay. You're not trying to solve a murder or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Have you got a drink, Neil?
Have I what?
Have you got a drink?
I have, thank you, darling. Yes.
Great. Cheers.
Cheers. L'chaim.
So Tommy, would you like to introduce Mr. Neil Bartlett?
I'd love to introduce. So we're delighted to have Neil Bartlett with us today. Neil Vivian Bartlett.
That's me.
How are you, Neil?
I think we can safely say I'm well, actually. I mean, like everyone else, I'm on fairly regular but I'm lucky enough to live on the sea, and I've just come out of it. So at the moment, I'm glowing in, I would say.
Where do you live, Neil? Is it Brighton?
No, I live in Worthing, which is just along the coast.
Yeah.
From Brighton. Go down to Brighton and turn right. Yeah, and I live right. My husband and I live right on the seafront. We're by the pier.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, which is fabulous. Here we are. I'm having a good day. I got some work done, and my other half's downstairs cooking my dinner, and the sun is shining. And I haven't listened to the news today, and that really helps, because yesterday I just spent almost all of my energy in shouting at the radio, and it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't do anyone any good, does it?
I mean, one needs to be informed, but one needs not to be in a state of exacerbated despair from the minute you've had your first cup of tea. And that's what happened to me yesterday.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly. Very troubling times for us here and all over the world, obviously, but yeah, particularly here with our particular government at the moment. Well, let's talk about, because you live in Worthing, and I started reading your book, The Disappearance Boy, which is kind of set there, and you've got such an interesting way of telling a story. What did I write down? Your seductively visual narration. You reveal the secrets of a scene piece by piece, a bit like a burlesque performer revealing their flesh. But
I couldn't possibly comment. I mean, that, of course, that way of writing, maybe that's true all the time, but it's particularly true of that book, because that book is set in a theatre in the 1950s, and the lead characters are all people who are involved in an illusion act. So the revealing of secrets and visual trickery is very much what the book is about. But it's true, I know how to be a tease when I'm telling a story.
It's quite flirtatious with the reader, isn't it?
A lot of the work that you have been involved in, or the stories that you tell, are queer stories. But then some of the stories are kind of, or some of the plays that you've directed, just feel very standard. You know, your classics, the Shakespeare stuff. And I wondered about, do you make a conscious effort to pull out queer narratives within classics?
Diving in the deep end. Pulling out queer narratives when I do the classics. Well, I only ever do classics, as you call them, if I only do anything if I feel a real personal connection with it. And so that connection necessarily is a queer one. So when I'm directing Romeo and Juliet, I incredibly identify with that story of being an incarcerated, sexually frustrated teenager. It never occurs to me to go, oh, this play's really about a cisgendered heterosexual girl, so it's not really my story. I feel it is my story. Lots of the so-called classics, but only by Tchaikovsky and Britain. And I've done, Somerset Maugham, Robin Maugham, Oscar Wilde, a lot of important mainstream gay writers. I'm not sure I ever think consciously about pulling out a queer narrative, because I never do anything else. Because I've never tried to clean up my act. I've never pretended to be straight in my work. So I think I'm trying to think of a piece of work of mine in the theatre where you could watch it and think, oh, I bet the person who did that was a heterosexual. I mean, I just don't think that ever happened.
Alternatively, do you think that people could see that this was directed by someone that was queer?
I mean, we can never really answer that question. You'd have to interview every person who's ever seen a piece of my work, and that would take a long time. I think my honest answer would be, I hope so. I mean, I certainly would hope that every queer person who was watching my work would go, oh, great, I can see that this work is coming from our world in some sense. I mean, sometimes incredibly obviously. I mean, some of my work is screamingly queer.
I guess that's why I was trying to ask that question, really, is because, you like growing up and visiting theatres and seeing stories played out there, being a young queer person, you would want to see something that you identify with. And maybe that doesn't necessarily have to be you watching, gay relationships played out, but
no. I mean, one of the first, I was lucky enough to grow up in a town where there was a theatre, and also a theatre that had a really great ticket policy where there were really cheap seats at the back of the sort of back row of the theatre. The tickets were sold on the day and they were really cheap. So my mum and dad took us to see everything when I was a kid. And one of the first two shows I ever saw I saw a panto, which I loved, Robinson Crusoe, starring Martin Jarvis, Peter Purvis, confusing my hero in.
I remember Peter Purvis.
Oh God, he was sexy. Yeah. He was so sexy. That was so wonderful. And then the other show that I saw in the same year was Antony and Cleopatra, and starring a very great actress called Anna Calder Marshall, and watching the lights fade away on her body after she had died is something I will never forget. And on paper, neither of those things are queer theatre. Antony and Cleopatra, it has one clearly queer character and it has a few transsexual or gender ambiguous characters, but you wouldn't say it was a thumpingly queer narrative, and you certainly wouldn't say Robin, whatever it was, Dick Whittington was a particularly queer narrative, but they were when I was watching them, little little 7 or 8-year-old Neil had queer eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Stories have two ends. They have the storyteller's end and they have the audience's end. And we know as queer people, we're capable of queering anything when we listen to it. But I have been known to front load the queerness in my work on occasion, whether that's when I'm being posh and working at the National, or if I'm slumming and doing a quick spot down at the Vauxhall Tavern.
The last show that you directed was The Importance of Being Earnest. Did that actually fully run, or were you stopped by COVID?
We were stopped by COVID, but we did 4 performances, and that was a show that I did at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, with third-year students. Had a fantastic time, had a fantastic company of young people. And it's a play that I know inside out and upside down. And it's a play that was written, I'm just going to show you this magic of communications. That's something off my wall. This is an old postcard of Worthing. This is 10 minutes away from where I'm speaking. And that room there is where Oscar Wilde wrote The Importance of Being Earnest.
Oh, wow.
And Mr. Wilde and I have formed, going back years, my very first book was about him back in the dark ages of the early 14th century. And it's very weird that I've ended up living somewhere right in the middle of his world. Out of that window, which you can't see, which is my study window, I can see the back of the house where a 16-year-old boy called Alphonse Conway lived, and he was Oscar Wilde's boyfriend in August 1894, which was when he was writing The Importance in that house. Anyway, I've known that play for years, and I've always said I would direct it when I got old. And early last year, my husband said to me tactfully, "Darling, you are, so you'd better do it." So I thought, all right, I better do it. And I can't be asked to go and do it in a big theatre. Instead of which, I decided to go and do it with a bunch of people whose basic attitude was, "Who's Oscar Wilde? Who's that?" We've sort of heard of him, but we've never read any of his plays, and we don't know who he is, and we don't know why is it funny or how is it funny. So we had to start really from the ground, work from the ground upwards on discovering that play. And I had an absolutely fantastic time with this bunch of young people. And we made the play very weird and wonderful and funny. I was really proud of the show. And I was very sorry for them when we were going into work we opened on Thursday, so we'd done Thursday, Saturday, and then as we came into work on the Monday evening, the head of RADA took us to one side and said, "Listen, I'm really sorry, this has to be the last one."
Oh, gosh.
So I said, "Okay, it has to be the last one. Give them hell. There are a few pictures and that's it, and a lot of happy memories." What play, great, glorious play. So yeah, I had a great time. That was the last piece of work that I did. And God knows when any of us will ever work again, my dears. I mean, who knows?
Yes, well,
we're good at being poor. We're good at being insecure. And we've been through worse catastrophes than this. So, that's what I tell them. My mantra is IC80s, stay calm.
And a lot of people are drawing parallels to the AIDS pandemic.
yeah.
Do you believe that?
I don't. For me, the differences are clearer than the parallels. So, right from the beginning of this pandemic, everyone agreed that no one should die of this disease. We should do everything possible to stop people dying of this disease. Whereas the most significant point thing about the AIDS epidemic as it happened in this country, from my experience, was the majority of the population of this country thought people should die of this disease because it was their fault, and that any money spent on stopping them dying of the disease was only a waste of money, but was sort of immoral. People were glad that gay men were dying because they had it coming. Well, no one has said that. I think there's an awful unspoken elephant in the room behind government policy, which is not very many people are dying. Not enough people are dying to influence the outcome of an election. I know it sounds like a huge number of people, but actually it's really not, in terms of how many people die in this country every day. And also, it's not a significant proportion of, it's not excused, it's killing a lot of weak and vulnerable people, elderly people and BAME people, and so we don't really to worry. If it was only killing bankers, they would have a vaccine.
Yeah.
I can't believe, where's all this coming?
But for sure, you're right.
So I see more differences than similarities, interestingly enough. There was, you would think in the AIDS pandemic, no one ever said we're all in this together. No one ever stood on the streets and clapped in support of health workers during the AIDS pandemic. In fact, the opposite. People hate flourished. Division flourished at that time.
There was so much stigma, wasn't there?
Yeah. There's no stigma in COVID. You don't get COVID because you're a bad person, whereas everybody who got AIDS because they were a bad person or a stupid person or a disgusting person.
I think that's really an interesting point to just remember when those similarities are kind of talked about.
Neil, you did an adaptation of the novel Plague.
That's right.
In 2017? And you're going to do a radio play of that. Is that correct?
That is correct. In fact, I've just finished recording it. So the famous novel The Plague by Albert Camus, 1947, which he wrote just after he'd been working in the French Resistance. It's a great book. And I did a stage adaptation in London, the Arcola Theatre, where I love working, in 2017, and it really worked. And we did a second run of it in 2018. And I just finished last week recording, we haven't edited it yet, a radio version of that adaptation, which is a lockdown recording. So there are 5 actors in the piece. They were all on stage simultaneously for the whole piece in the stage version. But in the radio version, we recorded them all separately. So I've spent 3 weeks on Zoom talking to people wrapped in duvets.
That's quite poignant, though, for the current pandemic.
Yeah, I know when it goes out. It's scheduled for broadcast on Radio 4 in July sometime. I can't remember the date. And I know when it goes out, people are going to say, oh, well, of course, they're doing a version of the Plague because, we're in the middle of the Plague. But actually, this script is from nearly 4 years ago now that I wrote it. But it does have the weirdest resonances for now. I mean, everything that we're going through, bigger pictures, like the whole process of denial and I'm new to admit there's a problem until the very last minute, which we've even tiny details, so where 2 people are in a hospital corridor and one of them has to run to get to an urgent meeting and the other one shouts to him, hey, you're not wearing your mask. And then after they've gone, the guy turns to the listener and says, I know they don't really make any difference, but they do help people feel more confident. You go, wow, that was written in 1947 by somebody who had no idea. Of course, had no idea, but it is going to ring all sorts of bells.
Yeah, I wonder if it rang bells with the Spanish flu pandemic back then. Because that was only like 20 years before, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, it was 25 years before. I mean, I think Camus he always said about the novel, when I'm not really writing about a plague, he was using the plague as the kind of axis for how do you, particularly on the moral level, how do you survive catastrophe? He said, when catastrophe strikes, some people fight back, and some people just use it as an excuse to make money, essentially, or augment their personal power. And he presents the plague as a moral choice. He says, so if people around you are dying, what do you do about it? Some people say, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Some people say, oh, well, it's probably God's fault. He wants us to suffer. Some people say, actually, let's organize a volunteer community task force and see if we can minimize the damage to our fellow human beings. And he says everyone has a choice how you respond in those times. He ends the novel incredibly, and this was why I did work actually. He ends the novel by saying, what you will discover when you live through a play is there are more things to admire about your fellow human beings than there are to despise. And I think that's an incredible thing to say. I'm not sure it's true, but I think we need to challenge ourselves.
I feel like I've noticed like a less kind of jealousy, FOMO happening around like social media, particularly. It feels like, there's more sort of kindness I've noticed, I feel.
That's fantastic.
Let's just hope that all of those lessons that we're kind of learning during this period don't just disappear once things get relatively back to normal.
I think the problem is, totally, I agree with you. I think the problem is that people are phrasing it in terms of kindness and heroism and those individual human qualities. This thing, people are kind. People are heroic. People are generous. That's how people are. The things I want us to really remember is, what about wage levels for care workers? Never mind care workers are wonderful and we should all stand on our doorsteps and clap them. The real test is going to be the next time there is discussion in the Houses of Parliament of wage levels for junior members of the NHS. Are we going to be told once again, oh no, we really can't afford that? And I think the government is already setting the groundwork for conversation to say, although we really love them and we really admire them and we really respect what they did for us during the pandemic, we're not going to give them an effing pay rise. That's going to be the test. Is this actually going to change the way people think about bus drivers, cleaners, social services, delivery drivers? These are the people who've been treated like shit for the last 25 years. That's the biggest question that I think is going to come out of the last 6 months. It's exactly the people who've been on the receiving end of everything that's gone wrong with this country, who it turns out are the heroes, in inverted commas, of this pandemic. So to each other, but I really hope we're going to vote a pay rise to the women who, my father, visual aid number 2, that's my dad, Trevor, who's 92.
Wow.
And he lives in a care home just down the road at the back of Bognor Regis. And they've had the virus in his care home and nobody died and the infection didn't spread. I really want those women to get a pay round.
Yeah.
Next time there's a pay round, I just want us to go, oh, aren't they marvellous? I really want our respect to be expressed in a way that the public conversation around low-paid people in this country changes. Stop treating people like shit.
Yes.
It's not fucking rocket science, Boris, if you're listening. I'm sure, don't you think, Tom, there's got to be a focus group at number 10 that says we need to listen to more queer podcasts, and then we're really going to know what's going on. I think they should. They're welcome.
Do you know what? I'm gonna email a copy to Boris when this goes out.
We keep seeing flashes of your pearls, and I always think of you wearing pearls. You're wearing lovely ones. Have you got? Is that a large collection, or are they all on one?
No, it's a large collection, and there are a few more, because I promised you I would dress up. Because one of the things about living in lockdown, and I'm high risk or whatever it is, so I barely go out. I'm in the house all the time, and I'm just either naked or in a dressing gown the whole of my life. So I thought I will dress up for Tom, and this is a vintage shirt from just before I met James, my husband. So that's 31 years ago. So I've had this shirt for 32, 33 years. This is vintage.
It's beautiful.
And this is part of my pearl. This is what you get if you marry an antique dealer. You get pearl. They've all been found in boxes of costume jewelry in junk shops or at boot fairs. These ones came off a death job. These ones were given to me by a very dear friend of mine, who I won't name, and they belonged to her mother, and they were given to her mother by the Prince of Wales, the then Prince of Wales.
Wow.
So these are royal pearls that now are once again royal pearls. There you go.
Can you spin them round?
I could, darling.
That's what I've been doing in lockdown. I've learned how to spin pearl necklaces around my neck.
But I wouldn't do that with these. I would. No. I have another jewellery collection entirely, which is my drag and performance jewellery. And those, you mean doing the old... Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's a good one.
Once you start doing it, you just can't stop.
No.
Hula hoop pearls.
Really, lockdown has not been in vain. It's all been worth it.
Neil, please stay with us. We're going to have a little break, and then we're going to come back with Queens of Agony section. If you'll carry on joining,
I'll carry on joining. Okay.
Okay. Stay in your throne. You're welcome to the old Queen pantheon. We'll have a little break, and we'll be back after this. Right, so we're back, and we are with the fantastic Neil Bartlett, and we're going to do some Queens of Agony. So, dear old Queens, my 41-year-old boyfriend, he's 41, his boyfriend is 32, is all about personality over physical. Then why can't I believe him when he says he's not into me sexually? Sex has always been a struggle for us. We have it fairly often, but he often seems uninterested and a tiny bit frustrated. Lets little things bother him during sex. Too many covers, not enough covers, too hot. The list goes on. Most of the time, he doesn't come, but seems fine with it. Our relationship is great otherwise, and he is always willing to get me off. I have self-worth issues surrounding my weight. I'm not sexually attracted to guys my size, so that doesn't make loving myself any easier. I see these issues he is having as a sign he isn't sexually attracted to me. I have asked him, and while he says he is sexually attracted to me, none of his previous partners have been this overweight, and we like similar types, average build. Having said that, he is very much a personality over physical. What's wrong with me that I can't accept his answer, and that the issues we are having in the bedroom are caused by other factors and not my weight? I have so many good qualities and make a good partner. Am I wrong to think all of this? Wow.
Oh, dear.
That's a very long letter for you, Tommy.
Yeah. I feel like there's two different issues. Like there's the kind of body image. Well, there's just the fact that they've been in a relationship for a while, yeah? Does it say how long that they've been in? You get a kind of sense that they've been together for a while.
Yeah, I think they've been together for a while.
And I would say that feels like more maybe the issue is around, like, there's just realistically not going to be that, like, jumping on their bones kind of thing. And I think it's really possible to find someone attractive that isn't your usual type, whatever that might mean. So I don't think he's lying when he might say, I do find you attractive. But previously I've never been with someone that would be carrying more weight, for example. I just feel like it's to do with maybe something else that's going on in the relationship, like a companionship over the physical.
Yeah. How about you, Neil? What do you feel?
What do I feel? I feel like, let's be frank, the whole size thing, look into your beloved's eyes and believe him, because shape has nothing to sexy. I say this not as an abstract principle, but because I'm 61 and I've been having an outrageous sex life since I was 13. I've had everything, and I can tell you that hotness is nothing to do with shape. Hotness is to do with life, and it's to do with the spark between two people. So anyone who talks about type, oh, you're my type, you're not my type, they're talking out their arse, forgive the metaphor. So get over it. You are gorgeous. And if your boyfriend's saying, yeah, I do fancy you, he is telling the truth. The other thing I would say, I mean, it's a really complex problem and we can't give you an answer. But the other thing I would say, as someone who's in the most glorious relationship, which has now been going on for 31 years, is that sex changes. And people have this idea that there's a well-established sex narrative, that every relationship starts in one place, goes to this place, then it goes to that place, and then it goes to that place, and then you die. Well, that isn't true. The body is a journey and a relationship is a journey. And that's true if you're shagging someone for 15 minutes or if you're sharing a bed with them, as I've done with James for 31 years. It's a journey. It changes. Expect it to change. Work on it changing and accept it changing. And don't let anyone else tell you how it should be, and don't let voices in your head tell you how it should be. One of the chief joys of being queer is that there is no roadmap.
Yes.
We have to write our own manuals, and that includes the manual on how to maintain a physical relationship, full stop, even if that's how to maintain a physical relationship from the first date to the second date, or how to maintain a physical relationship over 31 years. There's no manual.
No.
Not even mum can tell you, although she probably could tell you one or two useful things. I lost my mum 25 years ago. She gave me great advice of emotions. I wish I had the chance now to say to her, Ia, how do you deal with my husband's 72?
Do you think you know what she would say to you? Can you imagine?
I know exactly what she'd say. she would say, yeah, and isn't he gorgeous?
That's probably what my mum would say as well.
She loved that guy, and he's a looker, and he always will be, and she loved him. And he picked my dad, who's been a handsome man all his life. So she knew about the value of good looks. But we were all of us brought up in a culture with authoritative. So, fat queen, old queen, stupid queen, all those words go together really well. And it is our life's work to uncouple them and to replace them with hot queen, gorgeous queen, brilliant queen, unexpected queen, brave queen.
Unexpected queen.
Yes, unexpected. We are all unexpected. Darling, no one imagined us.
Exactly. I mean, one of the reasons why this podcast is called What That Old Queen is because that's how someone described me once. And I wanted to own it and turn it into a positive and be positive about being older and being gay. And that's what this podcast is all about, really. I think you guys have answered that question. I agree with both of your answers. Anyway, moving on. Dear old queens, just wondering what your thoughts are on this. I'm in a relationship of 4 years. We're happy and have a great sex life. Definitely different sex drives, but we make it work just fine. I obviously have a higher drive. He has no problem with this and is awesome about it. I've jerked off with him in the room. He understands. I browse porn often on Twitter, Instagram, etc., and have found a few posters that I'm really attracted to. 2 have OnlyFans accounts. And I recently subscribed to their content, which I look at fairly often. It's honestly great on the days I want some action and my boyfriend isn't there or in the mood. They're £5 a month individually. They're very small posters with about 50 to 100 followers, both very similar in build and aesthetic of my boyfriend. I have never cheated in a relationship and never plan to. I recently read that some people consider subscribing to an OnlyFans site cheating. I've never had any communication with these 2 guys, only liking their photos and nudes. I justify it in my mind, but would hate for this to affect my relationship. My boyfriend doesn't know about these subscriptions, and I'm not really sure what his opinion would be. Obviously, relationship over some random pics on the internet. I would never want to make him feel insecure or less than what he is, because that isn't the case at all. I'm kind of battling with my thoughts. Part of me thinks it's wrong and I want to just unfollow and stick to generic porn that isn't centric around a certain person, but the other half is attracted to this certain body type, and here's a specific place I can get it when I want to go solo. I plan to talk to my boyfriend about it soon, but figured I'd ask what the old queens thought. So
when you were saying posters, I thought you meant like posters, like Athena posters that you put on your wall.
It's an odd language, isn't it? But I think he means the people that are posting their pictures up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy, he's guessing his boyfriend doesn't have a problem with porn, but he thinks that he might have a problem because he's subscribing to an individual's OnlyFans site. What do you think about that?
I think you just need to ask him, do you have a problem with that? And do you think it's okay?
Yeah, just say, look at this guy. Isn't he hot?
Yeah, get off with him together. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really see the difference of porn. I mean, if it's an OnlyFans site, it's still someone who's pretty anonymous to me. It's you're paying to see it.
He's worried he's falling into because that porn star is smiling at me, then actually he really likes me. He's having a relationship. He is having a relationship with those porn stars.
Right.
But that transaction happens whenever pornography is involved. And so long as you're self-aware about it, no problem.
But it could happen with anything. It could happen with works of art. It could happen with film, whatever thing.
Books, even. I've fallen in love with characters in a book.
I spend way more time with Maria Callas than with my husband in my head.
But it's just part of life, isn't it? Your relationship isn't the be-all. I mean, relationship shouldn't just be the be-all and end-all of your life. You should have all these other interests. And whether that's an OnlyFans site or Maria Callas or a book, then I think that's only healthy, isn't it? I don't know. I can't see that this would be an issue for me.
Healthy. I'm not sure. I mean, of course, we all need our privacy. It's not healthy to be tying yourself into and having guilt over some bit of fluff on a porn site.
Yeah.
Share it with your boyfriend. Say, oh, look at this one. This one's just popped up on my phone, darling. What do you think about him? It's no different from James and I were just out walking the dog just before I came upstairs. And there's a gorgeous guy sitting over the road with his girlfriend in a pair of shorts, cropped, moustache, tattoos, legs, the works. And James says to me, oh, look at that one. And I say, oh, yes, lovely. Fine. Over.
Great, yeah.
Oh, it's the same thing. Share it with your boyfriend. Stop tying yourself up in knots, darling. Have a lovely evening.
How about you, Tommy? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've got two more questions. These ones are shorter ones.
Can I add something to the last one? Remember that porn is boring. Porn is boring.
Okay.
People are not boring, but porn is boring. It's very important we all remember that, because too often people think porn is more interesting than people. And it's not true, darlings. Let's be clear. Okay, Next question.
Okay. Dear old queens, when did you stop caring about your appearance? Quite personal. I just turned...
Let's take that on air. Can you not see me? I'm wearing, actually with my rings, I'm wearing nearly £15,000 worth of jewellery. So fuck right off. And this is mid-80s hot gear. I have fabulous tits and a really big dick. You don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, what's the rest of the question?
I don't know if I want to read the rest of the question. I think your answer is amazing. Anyway, I don't
understand that. Was it directed at us?
No, not at all. It was like a rhetorical question. So I've just turned 40 earlier this year, and I definitely don't feel like the stereotypical 40-year-old. My routine to keep my youthfulness, moisturizing, working out, eating healthy, etc., just seems so tedious at times. I do let loose once in a while and have an extra drink now and then, or accidentally spend too much time in the sun, or have a piece of cake. So I know how to enjoy life in those regards. At what point, though, do others, 40 plus, stop giving a damn about their appearance? Sometimes I just feel at times that my disciplined routine is a bit much. However, it's done me well. So I like the attention I get, but now that as I continue to age, things will go downhill quickly regardless. So when did you stop caring, and what have been the results? I have not stopped caring. Have you guys?
I think it's deeply problematic, that letter. And I think, of course, you can have a piece of cake. Like, why would you even mention having a piece of cake and having a glass of wine?
I think he has
letting your hair down. It's not really that's not what I call letting your hair down.
No, he's got such a strict regime. I mean, I let my hair down in way more ways than that. How about you, Neil?
Oh dear, I don't know whether to be tired or cross or disappointed. I mean, sister, what is this guy talking about? He sounds like a Puritan with real self-worth issues on the sexual front. I mean, what ever happened to messy is sexy? You know, that whole thing of I've got to be scrubbed and plucked and toned, and then people will really like me and I enjoy the attention I get. No, I can't even begin to tell you what a turn off that is. I don't want to be unpleasant, but that's such a bad attitude towards sex and towards pleasure. I think you really need to discover your own body and let other people discover it. And as for old queens giving up on how they look, three of my best friends are 82 and 86 and 89, and they're all always gloriously well dressed.
Yes.
Older queens. This whole idea that, where does that come from?
I think the issue.
This guy hanging out with lots of desperate old queens who hate. I think he's talking about himself.
Totally.
I'm really worried that
this thing about it's obviously working. Like he said something like it's been working for me. It's been good to me or something. It's like, well, you're reaching the point now when it's not going to work for you, and you need to have another strategy. And that strategy is about like letting your hair down, not caring so much.
Exactly.
Like knowing what is sexy and what isn't. Like it's about a whole rethink, really.
I remember when I first came out, it was all about appearance, and you should do this, you should do that, you need to look pretty, you need to be a twink. Whereas I think that whole kind of ethos has changed in recent years. And I have to say that I used to do all the preening and look after myself and all that kind of stuff up until like my mid-30s. And do you know what? I hardly had any action with guys. And it wasn't until I suddenly became 40 and I kind of gave up on trying to please everybody else on how I looked. And I just was myself, and I was pleasing myself on what I wore, how I looked, having a beard. And ever since, I've kind of accepted myself for who I am, who and what I am. I mean, I know I don't have the perfect body, but, so what? What is the perfect body? I have the perfect body for a lot of people. And I've had way more sex since I've been 40 plus than I ever did between 20 and 40. Let's put it that way.
I agree. I'm 61. I'm having the best sex in my life.
So there you go. Life does not end at 40 or 30 or whatever age you think it is.
It doesn't. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Life doesn't end. Life is the journey. Get better at it. Love yourself. Have more sex. Let your hair down. Jesus Christ, we need to get this guy over for the evening.
We need to get him drunk and feed him cake. Okay, one more very quick last question.
I'm to the bed and play in Maria Callas and say, now how do you feel? That would be my... Okay.
All right, final question. Dear old queens, how are you going to navigate meeting guys now that we are coming out of lockdown? So it's going to be at least another year or so till they develop a vaccine for COVID-19. And I know that we're all not going to turn asexual before then. Are you going to be hooking up less, or is it going to be business as usual?
No hookups till it's safe. No ifs, no buts, no hookups till it's safe. It's no more complicated than that. And anyone says, oh, well, it's my life. I can do what I want with it. It ain't fucking true, Mary. What about your parents? What about your family? What about all the healthcare professionals you're expecting to pick up the pieces if you become infected? No hookups till it's safe. Can I say the answer is surely socially distanced jerking off in public spaces? And clearly we're going into the new golden age.
And I think all of the shopping centres and outdoor parks will concur with that advice.
I think so. Especially if you're in the queue for Tesco's. I mean, why not?
You heard it here first.
But head for your local outdoor cruising spot and find out just how much fun you can have at a 2 meters distance. But let's create new ways of doing it. But the bottom line is no physical contact till it's safe.
But so say if you're single, and you just have regulars with different types of people, like in Denmark, I think they're saying you should choose one partner and have regular hookups with them.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult though. It's not the world's best chat up line, is it? Hello, I fancy you. Let's be each other's regular partner for the foreseeable future. No, that's not a very gay idea. That's not a very good idea. Sorry, Denmark, for once you're not being helpful there. No point. I think we have to apply our queer ingenuity to this, but let's all behave better than Dominic Cummings. That's all I can say. We all have a duty to behave better, and we've done it before. With my generation, we learned how to have safe sex, and to coin a phrase, I'm still here, and so are all of my friends and lovers who survived. And we're still here because we made that huge commitment of saying, okay, let's not do it. And it's not a judgment thing. I'm not saying I'm going to really disapprove of you if you're naughty. I know how difficult it is, but that should be our aspiration. No hookups till it's safe.
Be better with our Cummings than Cummings. And on that note...
you heard it first here, girls.
Okay, on that note, I think we should end the show. Thank you so much, Neil, for being with us. Please say goodbye to our audience.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe, stay brave, and I'll see you on the other side. Lots of love. Good night.
Great. Say goodbye, Tommy.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Tommy. And thank you all for listening. We will see you next time on What That Old Queen. You have been listening to What That Old Queen, written and presented by Tom Marshman and Bernie Hodges. The show was produced by Bernie Hodges in lockdown 2020 for Hodge Podcasting. If you'd like to sponsor a show, or you'd just like to be a guest, or you have a question for the Old Queens, you can email on hello@thatoldqueen.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.